How is it floating? By Krishna's mercy. Quote, "We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by his inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word Achintya, inconceivable, is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, Achintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world and yet is beyond it. We cannot even comprehend this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent persons, avoiding useless argument and speculation, should accept what is stated in scriptures like the Vedas, Gita, and Shrimad-Bhagavatam, and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding. Shrila Prabhupada, Bhagavad-gita 8:9 Purport. Your experience shows that there are different kinds of dads. The overbearing kind, who has to be on top of the kids, watching their every move, from morning until the night. The pressuring kind, applying to sports, academics, and other areas of achievement, always insisting that the coaches and teachers do more, that they take a greater interest in the child. The teaching kind, who tends to run impromptu training sessions whenever the situation should call for it. Unfortunately, there might also be the absent kind, who tries to avoid spending time with their family as much as possible. In an honest personal assessment, with every attempt at objectivity, you would probably describe yourself as the laid-back kind of dad. You make sure that there is a semblance of discipline and structure, but you otherwise tend to go with the flow. You don't have a guiding philosophy, necessarily. You are generally happy and smiling, but you can be stern if the situation calls for it. Most relevant for this discussion is that you tend to be the quiet kind. You can drive alone in the car with your child for hours and not say a word. This does not mean anything is wrong. Rather, you feel this indicates a lack of disturbance to the equilibrium. The thing is, the child is the child and you are the adult. You assume the role of an authority figure merely by your presence. This means that the child will ask questions. They want you to explain different things. One day they ask about old age and death. They have recently suffered through the tragedy at home with the loss of a grandparent. They want to know what happens to people after they reach a high number in age. You try your best to explain how the cycle of life works. On another occasion, the child wants to know Mommy and Daddy met. What was the arrangement? Where did the first meeting take place? Did they like each other right away? You then have to explain the system of marriage and how that can possibly lead to the arrival of children, which are you grateful for. You explain so many things to the child, like the importance of learning to read and write, the potential for different occupations in adulthood, how to earn money through work, and how to pay the bills. One day, the child happens to ask about the Earth, the solar system, and the many planets. They want to know how something so big can stay in space. It remains suspended where it is without the slightest deviation from the prior configuration. We know this based on our survival at present. If the Earth should happen to slip just 5%, so many things would change. We see the drastic difference between day and night, which is based on the level of contact with the sun. We see the even greater difference between the seasons, which is based on the angle that the Earth sees the sun. How exactly does everything remain where it is? Who placed the Earth into orbit? Who determines the orbit? Who draws out the course, like a GPS application providing directions for reaching a distant destination? The Earth is extremely heavy. Why does it not fall out of place? Who will rescue the Earth if it should ever drop? His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada asks these very questions in a rhetorical sense. He wants the proud, esteemed, prestigious, and advanced scientific community to offer an explanation. Otherwise, what is the point to pursuing new forms of travel? It is like working around the edges. It is like ignoring the giant elephant in the room. If mankind cannot keep even a tiny speck of dust in orbit inside the living room of a single family home, then what heights can they really reach when exploiting the laws of nature? It may appear too simplistic to say that God is responsible, but this is the correct answer. It is simplistic for our process of identification, but there is nothing simple about maintaining the universe. If it were so easy to keep a planet floating in space, then perhaps someone else should try it. The explanation is valid and true. The explanation needs to be told. The explanation needs to be heard. Because only by knowing the force sustaining the universe will we reach perfection in knowledge. Otherwise, we are playing the game of a child. We are utilizing intelligence for enhancing the pleasure of the senses when the animal community already enjoys the very same senses. The animals have no need for rocket ships, membership in bulk purchasing discount clubs, or large storerooms. They live for a certain period of time, eat sufficiently, and then move on to another life. The explanation to the child is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead keeps the planets in orbit. He enters the earth and maintains it. He enters the moon and provides vitality to the vegetables on earth. He enters every living being as super soul. Not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. The more we know about him, the more we come closer to him, which is the real reason we are on this earth. Gam avishya chabhutani, dharyamya aham ojsa, pushnami choshthi sarva. Somo bhutva rasatmaka. Quote, I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 15:13. In closing, despite large mass to contain, one force inside to sustain. Expanding for me as well, Shastra the details to tell. Real knowledge only this way, otherwise like the child to play. Around the edges to manipulate, but never true command to demonstrate.